Ooh. Hello and welcome. Uh, I wanted to stream after each round in the European Club Cups, so I'm gonna stream a bit right now, even though I'm super tired. Let's see here. My setup is not perfect, but I don't feel like I'm in the center of the microphone. What's going on here? Okay. Yeah, so my game was not perfect today. I had to really struggle. And that's what I wanted to show you, just a little bit about my game from today. We played against a Norwegian club today, Køge chess club. And I played against the grandmaster, Gabor Pap, I think that was his name. And it was a draw, but it was a really long game. I think we played 150 moves and played for 6.5 hours. So I'm super tired after that. Yes, Gabor Pap, that's right. So I played with the white pieces. Let's look at it a bit. I'm not gonna stream for that long today, so I'm just gonna skip ahead to the most interesting stuff, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, you guys see the board. Okay, good. So I played c4 to prevent d5, and let's just skip through the opening a little bit, especially since I am not a big expert on it. e5 was played early, so this will be the Wedberg system, where black will play for d5 or b5 later on. And I played an early d3. I waited a little bit with castling, so just wanted to see what my opponent will do. And I think my opponent castled now, and I decided to play queen c1, just try to play bishop h6. d6, very reasonable move. h4, pushing for h5. h5, very reasonable defense. And I think I decided to castle. I was looking at some variation where my knight would jump around and I would try to attack this pawn, but it just felt too premature to go for an attack there. Good move. This bishop can be can sometimes have a hard time finding a good square, so it's good to give it concrete tasks. Rook e1, prophylactic move here, protecting e2. Let's see here, what was it? What did black play here? Rook b8, right, preparing b5. Thematic. I did more or less the same, prepared b4. a6. Black is a little bit faster here, so I had to become a bit creative here. I decided to go for knight h2, kicking the bishop, and knight e4, planning knight g5. b5 played, that's the hardest one. Knight g5, bishop c8. So I was thinking about b4 here, but then I was not sure if it's a good idea. So I wanted to start by taking here. And my opponent took with the rook, which is a good idea actually, because pawn takes would have been more passive. Now the rook is active here and the knight can come to b4. I played knight f1 because this was my worst piece. I wanted to improve it. Knight d4 played. Doesn't really threaten anything right now. These squares are covered by rook and pawn, so that's okay. Knight e3. I was hoping black would play f6 and I would check on c4, but of course my opponent wouldn't blunder like that. a5, preventing b4. And now I'm not sure about my next maneuver here, but okay. Queen c4, bishop a6. First I wanted to sacrifice a queen here already, This is an analysis. I'm gonna show you a variation here. A4, rook b6, bishop a5, takes, knight takes. But then I realized knight c8 protects the rook, and I couldn't really make this work. I was looking at knight b6, b4. Yeah, I wasn't sure about this variation. It looked a bit messy, but maybe playable still. Something like this. I'm not sure. I might have enough conversation because of the ape. But this is just an analysis here. I'm not sure if the sacrifice was actually an option, but I went for queen e4 instead, which is a bit more passive. Let's see what was played here. Did the knight go to c6? Pawn go to d5. I think this happened. Preventing knight c4. And knight c2. And knight c6. Yes, so I wanted to attack this pawn, but it wasn't that easy. My knight got a bit offside here on a3. And now I wasn't sure how to attack this pawn. Finally I went for the rook move, but I'm not completely sure this was correct. My problem is that if I go here now, then black will answer knight d4. So, and also black threatens knight b4 in the next move. So I didn't find anything better than bishop e3 actually. I might be slightly worse here. So something went wrong somewhere around here for me. Black played knight c6. Now the knight is coming to b4. So I didn't find anything better than capturing here. And now my opponent played creatively and took with the pawn. Because the knight takes, this is another line I'm going to show. Knight takes. I was thinking about e3, but I was not sure. Knight f5. Queen c2. Rook c8. Bishop h3. Yeah, I was not sure if I was going to play like this or not. It can become a bit sensitive here if black opens up and sacrifices somewhere, so I wasn't sure. Also, I was thinking... No, it wasn't here. No, black cannot sacrifice here. Yeah, so black took with the e-pawn. Of course, if you take with the c-pawn, the knight will hang. You have two attackers here. E takes, queen c2 came, threatening the pawn, c4. So this is the creative part. Black sacrifices the pawn, opens the diagonal, and gets the knight to b4, which is what black is dreaming about. Queen b3 protects the pawn, but places itself on the b file. As I said, I'm not going to analyze for too long, otherwise we could have been stuck here with all these variations, but I decided to sacrifice my queen here, and maybe that was incorrect. And now black found the most precise move, attacking both these pawns. And yeah, I might be in trouble. If I had like one more move to consolidate this position, I would have been fine, but right now my pieces are not perfectly placed, so I didn't have that time. I went for this line finally, threatening checkmate, knight e4. But black played in an interesting way. Queen d8. Maybe here, maybe I should have protected the knight with bishop g2. This was a move I didn't choose. Instead, I took on a5. Black captured here, and now black has this pass pawn. And it can be problematic for white, as you will see here. Queen e7 is correct. Bishop d3, I'm not sure if that was correct. I had a bit of time trouble here. Rook b8 threatening the pawn. And I'm not sure. Maybe I should have gone back with the bishop here, but instead I went here. Maybe not the best move. Queen f6. Threatening to invade on f3. Looks unpleasant. Maybe I should have played knight d2. This is an analysis move. But I was a bit scared of a sacrifice here. Opening up my king. So instead I played king g2, which felt pretty safe. Just protecting these squares. And my opponent played bishop f8, threatening my rook. And now I'm gonna lose this pawn. So things are gonna get sensitive around here, which is what black hopes for. Black hopes to disrupt this bishop and then push the d pawn. That's the plan for black. Let me show you one variation where things can go pretty bad for white. Let's see if I would have gone, let's say here, takes. If I go here, this looks unpleasant, check. Yeah, this just looked unpleasant, although I'm not sure exactly how unpleasant, but it looked unpleasant. I guess black will go maybe here. And then push the d pawn. And if I go here, black goes here, threatening these, and here. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that white is going to lose this one. So that did not happen. Instead, I decided to push the b pawn, make black choose. Black chose with the rook, which is correct. I think I made the right move here. Rook a7. I'm playing on this. I'm playing on this f square, on the f7 square, and also the 7th rank is correct. I think it's correct to control it. Rook b3 is correct, I think. Threatening my bishop. Rook d1. Queen e6. Now it looks like everything is about to collapse, which is true. Black threatens to take here and then take here. And you see this bishop holds everything together. This bishop protects these. This bishop keeps the pawn back, blocked. So now you see the difference. If my rook was on a8, I would have been placing it on this diagonal. So I think it's important that the rook is on a7. But here I found an interesting idea, which I played in the game. I played knight a5. And this is not trivial. So this line I'm going to show. I'm analyzing without an engine, as you see, because I don't like using engines when I analyze. So feel free to find my mistakes later on. But the point is that, so let me show you one line. If white plays bishop c4, attacking here, black takes here, check, king here. And now I think black plays queen f3. So this is what I looked at. And the point is that rook f7, then it's hanging on d1. And if rook f1, then I didn't like... What is it I didn't like? Maybe I was wrong here, because I didn't like d3, but in fact rook f7 is perfectly fine. Okay, here you see that I was miscalculating something here. What was it? I was worried about something. Was it queen c2 maybe I was worried about? Was I worried about queen c2? Rook here. d3. There's something I wasn't sure how this was gonna be. But yet again, this looks perfectly fine for me. Yeah, maybe I underestimated this. Because what I wanted to play in the game, why I'm showing you bishop c4, is because I wanted to play rook f7. And I think this is what my opponent missed. At least that's what I thought during the game. That rook f7 can be strong in this line. This is still an analysis because this didn't happen. But as I said, this is not trivial. Queen f7, bishop c4, rook f2, king g1. I think I looked at bishop g7, bishop c4, rook c4. And now the thing is that white has to be careful, because I think the knight has to be placed here. Because if you go here and rook c7, rook d7, then you go into this pin. So you have to be careful not to end up in the pin. But you don't have to go into the pin. You can go here and put the knight on d3. And if black goes here, I was thinking protect the pawn. And then put the knight here, put the king here. And I should be able to hold this with white, but yeah, it's not trivial. That endgame is not trivial. But that did not happen. Instead, my opponent played... Okay, I need to speed this up a bit. Yeah, I played b4, right? Rook b4. Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah, here black sacrificed the exchange. Queen e4. 3. Yes. No. No. Bishop c5 first, right. That was the point, so that it's not hanging here. So this was not easy again. So I played rook f3 because... yeah, I wanted to play on the square. d3 I think is correct. Rook d8, bishop b6. So here I went for this sacrifice because... and the reason is because I was not sure if I can stop this pawn otherwise, because the queen is controlling the knight squares. So it's I cannot play knight b3, it's just hanging. This pawn is on its way down. And as you see, if I capture it, queen e4 check, then this rook drops. As I mentioned earlier, placing the rook on a8 is actually not good for white. So I went for this sacrifice, and I had to... now you're gonna see why this game was so long, because I had to suffer for a long time. So it starts here. I'm not gonna comment everything, but it was a really long game from starting from this point. Let's see here. Yes, rook d4, and I played... yeah, I'm not even sure I'm gonna remember all the moves actually. I was so tired after the game, I left the score sheet at the board. I think I offered draw here somewhere because I thought that in general terms it's gonna be hard for black to make progress, but my opponent declined, which was absolutely correct, and played some really nice ideas here. So my idea is to just move the rook back and forth here. Just wait. So I'm not gonna make all the moves, I think. I'm just gonna push the position forward to its next state. And the next state I think was something like this. Then at some point black played g5 and changed the structure. But as I said, I'm not doing the whole game now because it's too long. And so some of the positions will not be exactly correct. But black managed to get the queen. Let's see here. Did the queen end up here? Trying to remember how we made progress into the next position. I think it was something like my king ended up somehow on e2. Let's see how we make this happen. Oh yeah, it was something like this. Let's see, there was some special way that it happened. Yeah, I think something like this happened. Yeah, something like this happened, and I dropped the e-pawn, right. And I dropped the e-pawn, and here it was important to drop it in the right way. So this is an actual position from the game, more or less. I don't know exactly where the king was, but the point is that if I go here and I accept this pin here, I think I'm gonna be in big trouble because the king will walk down. Although sometimes I can sack here, so even that is not completely clear, but I didn't like it. So instead I went here, which looks like it's completely losing, but the point is that there is a pin here. So there is a pin to the queen here, so black cannot take with the bishop. So this is what happened more or less in the game. Check. And I think something like this. So yeah, the point was that there would be pressure on this pawn. Let's see, how did we get to the next state of the game? Yeah, something like this, yes. So this was interesting. My rook ended up here now. And it was on this side, now it was on the queen side, now it's on the king side. And there's a difference here that first I thought this would be easy to defend. Then I realized that this is not that easy to defend because, for example, if I go here with the rook, then bishop d4 again locks the rook out. And now the king is on its way. Again, black has to be careful with, for example, black has to be careful with just walking up because of this sacrifice here. And it could be risky for black to go into this endgame. So, but there's another way to play. Let's see how that is. Is it the f? Yes, I think it's pushing the f pawn. Pushing the f pawn. And now, if I take, then king g4. Now, you see it's closed here. So it's not working anymore to sacrifice. And king g4 in the next move. So I think these kind of positions are losing for me. Maybe I can hope for some kind of fortress in these situations, but it's risky. So I played here instead, stopping the h-pawn. King g5, rook h1, f5, and now rook h3. And the point is that after f4, if black plays f4 and king g4, then I can check with the rook and push the king back. That did not happen. Instead, f4 happened, and then there was an exchange here. So now, the point is that now black exchanged the f-pawn. So you see that this h-pawn is on the wrong side. It should be here to be winning with this bishop, with the dark squared bishop. So now I can sacrifice my two rooks for the queen. Which means that I can just go here, and if black takes, then this endgame is going to be a draw, because I'm already in the corner in front of the pawn. So instead, black tried some tricks here. So the trick that black can try, if let's say I'm just doing nothing, I'm just ignoring this, then the trick that black can try is to go with the bishop here and separate these two rooks from each other. Thanks to this pawn, it's hard to capture the bishop. So I would have to play this kind of endgame, which maybe is a draw anyway, but maybe I can create a fortress, but I'm not sure. It's risky. So I didn't want to allow this to happen. So what I did in the game was that I changed my setup. So my setup was more or less like this. This was my setup. And now in this setup, bishop g3 is not a threat anymore. So what happened in the game was more or less something like this. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna make exact moves here, but something like this. Yes, something like that. This is not the game, so don't worry. It's not. I'm just trying to get the position right. I think the king ended up somehow here, and I think the queen ended up here. Something like this, and something like Yeah, something like this. Oh, it's white's move, okay. Something like this, yes. My king is... How do I get the right tempo here? Yeah, okay, so something like this happened. And I was threatening this pawn, and if black would go here, then I would have created a pin. So I managed to push the king back, see? It was way up here before, now I managed to push it back to f7. So, yeah, this is, and this position was after, I don't know, 150 moves or something. So finally, we got a repetition here. I just didn't want to go, I had to be careful with this check here, but okay, even if it came, I could have defended, but the point is that I didn't want to allow this because I was just slightly unsure. It looked a bit risky, but maybe I could have played it as well. But I just went with the king to e2, and somewhere in this kind of position, we agreed to a draw. So that was my game. I think I had the longest game today. 6.5 hours. So, as you probably know already, we lost the match with 5-1. But we played some interesting chess, I think. And we will try to win tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in, and see you after round 2.